The diner was a furnace. The sizzle of grease, the clatter of spatulas, and the sharp tang of onions hung thick in the air. But when Maria walked in, the chaos seemed to pause. At 7 months pregnant, her navy blue apron strained over her swollen belly. Beads of sweat dotted her forehead, and her ankles throbbed in faded, scuffed flats. She had no choice but to keep going. Bills were piling up, her fridge was nearly empty, and the baby's father had vanished the moment she chose to keep the pregnancy. The head cook shot her a worried glance. "You sure you're up for this, Maria? You know who's coming tonight?" She nodded. "Mr. Carver." "I've heard." Everyone had heard. Victor Carver, the graying real estate tycoon who owned half the city's eateries, was infamous for treating his staff like pawns. Servers quit mid-shift. He berated. He mocked. He shattered glassware for effect. Tonight, he was inspecting this small diner on the edge of town. Maria adjusted her apron, wincing as her back ached, and stepped into the fray. It was 7:15 p.m. when Carver burst through the kitchen doors. His tailored charcoal suit screamed money, and his voice cut through the noise like a blade. A busboy fumbled a tray, and Carver sneered, "What is this, amateur hour at the Clown Academy?" A few nervous chuckles echoed from the staff. Maria didn't react. She focused on her station, chopping vegetables, arranging plates, her movements precise despite the exhaustion weighing her down. Carver's eyes landed on her. "You," he pointed, his voice dripping with disdain. "Who let a pregnant woman clutter up my kitchen?" Maria met his gaze briefly. "I'm here to work, sir. My pregnancy doesn't change that." He smirked, striding closer. "Name?" "Maria." He grabbed a plate she'd just finished, a perfectly seared steak with a drizzle of herb sauce, and flung it to the floor. The ceramic shattered. "Wrong. Your name's gone. Pack your things." The kitchen froze. Maria's heart pounded, but she stood her ground. "No," Carver's face reddened. "What did you just say?" "I said no," she repeated, her voice steady but quiet. "I need this job. And you don't get to treat people like garbage, pregnant or not." The room was a vacuum. No one dared breathe. The line cook looked down. A dishwasher stopped scrubbing. Carver laughed, a sharp, cruel sound. "You think that belly makes you untouchable? You think you're some kind of martyr?" He took a step closer, raising his hand, not to strike, but to intimidate, as he always did. Maria didn't flinch. She placed one hand protectively over her stomach, the other raised slightly. "Lay a hand on me," she said softly, "and I'll make sure everyone knows exactly who you are." Carver froze. A server in the corner had her phone out, recording. Another cook followed suit. The moment wasn't planned, it just ignited. Carver's eyes darted around, his confidence cracking. "Put those phones away," he bellowed, but his voice wavered. No one listened. Maria turned back to her station, calmly wiping her knife and starting on the next order. Carver stood there, stunned. "You think you've won?" he muttered, almost to himself. "I'm not here to win," Maria said, not looking at him. "I'm here to provide." Something shifted. Carver's shoulders slumped, his fists unclenched. He opened his mouth, but no words came. The weight of Maria's quiet defiance, her refusal to break, hit him harder than the cameras. He turned and stormed out of the kitchen. The silence that followed was heavy. No one spoke. Maria finished her plate, set it under the warmer, and walked to the break room. Her shift wasn't done, but her strength was fraying. She sank onto a bench, pressing a hand to her face to hide the tears. "I'm probably fired anyway," she murmured, but then, something unexpected. The night manager approached, twisting his hands. Maria, Carver's still here. In the dining room. He asked for you. Her stomach churned. No. I'm not playing his games. He's not yelling. He's just sitting there. Against her better judgment, curiosity, and that same stubborn resolve, pulled her to the dining room. Carver sat alone at a small table, his tie loosened, a cup of untouched coffee in front of him. He looked up as she approached. I didn't mean to frighten you, he said quietly. You raised your hand, Maria replied, her voice flat. I wasn't going to. He stopped, exhaling heavily. Maybe I would've. I don't know. Maria stood, one hand on her hip, the other cradling her belly. I don't care for apologies meant to save face. It's not that. Carver leaned forward, his voice softer than she'd expected. No one stood up to me like that in years. Not since my sister. She was fearless, like you. Kept me in check. After she passed, I let myself become this. Maria's expression didn't waver. She was done with men's excuses. Then maybe you should have fixed yourself before you started breaking others. He nodded, almost imperceptibly. I don't expect forgiveness. But what you did tonight, it woke me up. She crossed her arms. I'm not your redemption story. I just needed to keep my job. Carver reached into his coat and slid a folded letter across the table. This isn't charity. It's a start. Maria eyed it warily. What's this? A proposal. I'm stepping back from all my restaurants for a year. Therapy, accountability, the works. I want you to run this location as interim manager. Full salary, benefits, paid leave for when the baby comes. She stared, incredulous. You don't even know me. I know you didn't back down. I know you kept that kitchen together under pressure. That's more than I've done in years. Maria hesitated, her fingers brushing her belly where the baby stirred. And my child? Carver's eyes softened. This is your diner now. You set the terms. If that means a bassinet in the office, so be it. She didn't respond immediately. I'll consider it, she said finally, her voice steady. That night, Maria walked home under the city's neon glow, her apron tucked into her bag. She didn't know if Carver's offer was genuine, but for the first time in months, she felt visible. Not just a pregnant woman scraping by, but someone who'd stood tall and reshaped a moment. Someone who mattered.